This is a neck routing jig I made. It's a universal jig to select different shapes, profiles on the neck, from Gibson to PRS to my own to whatever they may become. And how it works is these feelers actually kind of follow this contour on both sides of the neck. And what it is, it's a mold of this profile here blown up and set out here. Same thing here. It's this profile blown up and set out here. So what I'm going to do is I have the ability to stack like six to eight different neck profiles on there without having to change the machine or anything like that. And then how it works is, I've only got two on here right now, but how it works, as more come in here, I made this indexer with like a nylon washer that's just hard mounted there, so it's just friction running on this. I am able to just loosen that and slide it to the next profile shape without having to do any other thing. Of course, you want to select the same down here, which would be like that. Okay, so now these are two totally different profiles that I just selected. So as they get stacked on here, I can go from a 1954 Fender Strat, I can go to a PRS wide fat, I can do my own cars, I can do the acoustic guitar cars that I've come up with. But actually for this route, I will be going back to this, which is just going back to that. And also, the other cool part of this jig is these can move up and down, but generally it's an indexed set. And then the parameters, the boundaries from here are on this. So if you went to a wider nut or a wider heel, just leave these indexed and make the cam shapers, I call these cam shapers, would be relatively just a hair bigger because you'd be wider here. So that's basically the functionality of this jig, okay? It moves like this on the axis. It slides back and forth. There's a pin underneath here, directly underneath this. This holder can only rotate, and it can only go up and down. So it can only rotate and go up and down, so that the feeler will just follow that cam shaper. And then I put a steering wheel / guide wheel over here. So how it works is I actually bring the router bit down into the piece like that when it's running. And I will start here, and I'll come across here like this. And then I'll come down here, and I'll come over like this. And then I'll come back, and then I'll just start doing short cuts like this. And it will follow these, and it will put that profile on the neck. So if I can get a copy of the neck, I can replicate other necks. That is basically how it's going to go.
Wow. Show me, like, I just figured out how that worked, because that's spring loaded.
Yep.
That's really cool.
So,
Here, show me that.
So, okay, so if I push down, you'll notice that this thing here moves. Well, these springs I could put tighter springs on there, but I just want to pull enough tension up into this so that it's holding this up into this, so that this indexer can feel this profile. And it's holding it up, and it's also holding it up into the cutter as it's going. So as you'll notice, if you just look at this bar, it just goes up or down and rotates. It can't yaw. It can't even go forward. I took the play out of the jig here by putting a nylon nut right there. There's a nylon nut in there. Okay, so when I get this all ready, I'll have 6 to 8 profiles on here. All I got to do is load the neck, select the profile, route the neck.
Yep.
to blend the volute in with my techniques for that by hand, and I'll have to blend the seal in. But the important thing here is the profile it puts on here. I could take this out, I could do 10 necks and they would be identical in feel. So that's what's important, is the replication of the profile that the buyer is looking for. And the bit, if anybody's interested, is called a compression bit or a compound bit. The bottom ½ inch cuts up, and the top portion of the cutter cuts down. So in essence, I'm using an upcut bit to do this, an upcut. You could just use a straight upcut. This bit is just cuts both ways.